Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you guys are listening to this. Welcome back to another edition of the Layman's AI podcast. I am Adam,
And I am Brian.
and we want to welcome you guys to what is episode 50 of the Layman's AI podcast. Brian, we've made it. It's been almost a
Hmm.
year. We're not quite at a year, but it's been almost an episode a week, and we are sitting
Yep.
here at episode 50.
Yeah, this is awesome. We're already way ahead of what most podcasts do by percentage wise, and yeah, just like happy to be here because we just love talking about AI
Yep,
and kind of
still
like
going.
bringing the layman's perspective, hence the name, the layman's AI. And we're glad you are all listening to us today. Very proud
Mhm.
to have you. Very happy to have you as a listener, I should say.
And we should also mention that since this episode ends in zero, that means that it was planned for us by AI. So,
Hmm.
for those of you who, if you recall, whenever an episode ends in a zero, so 10, 20, 30, you guys know how it goes. Whenever that happens, is we use AI tools to plan the episode for us. They basically take a look at what we've done in the past. They take a look to see what is trending now and give us examples of topics that we should use for
Hmm.
this episode. And it kind of helps us save time, but it's a really neat process. So that is what we're going to be going over today. We will be going over what AI has come up for us. So,
Yes. So basically, what I did is I used Claude Projects with this, and we used a little bit of Perplexity to do some research, and we have came up with episode 50, how Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z use AI differently. Kind of a typical episode, but we really liked how this generational thing has been sort of laid out for us.
right.
And just so you know, like when we use these tools, we don't kind of copy paste them. We massage the tool a little bit, do a little bit of our own research. But if we're gonna sit here and promote AI, we said, you know what? Let's use AI for our own podcast. And this is actually kind of one that I don't know if it was in the back of my mind. I would say, but this is definitely a topic that I think is worth discussing. And sometimes when you use these tools, it comes up with some unexpected things, and it sort of put a really good topic in front of us, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. I was not thinking this, and then I'm sitting here going, you know what? Just 2 years ago, I sat through several workshops on working with people of different generations because right now, we got four generations in the workforce. How does everybody work with one another? And this generational perspective, it is very important. And the different generations, the reason why is because of the word that I already said, perspective. It's so much is formed by how we grew up as different generations, what our parents were like overall, what expectations were like, what tools were in front of us when we were young. Brian, I think you and I talked about this. I think we had it made, being
Hmm.
millennials or xenials or whatever the term that we're, or exennials or whatever. Is that the term?
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
okay.
I can't really put the term down, but we do according to most charts and anything, we fall into the millennial category. And that kind of gives us our perspective of everything. And I kind of think after looking at it, we're going to go over it a little bit, but that kind of give us a good basis for this podcast, I think. And gave
I
us a
do
good
too.
perspective for it the
Yeah.
more we think about it, but we are going to get there. So, what are the generations being discussed? You said four generations of the workforce. The boomers who are clinging on, don't want to retire. Gen X, who is coming up on, most of them are coming up on retirement age.
Getting
The
there.
millennials, who are like us, who are right in the heart of everything, right in the heart of our careers and
Hmm.
building up. And Gen Z, who is entering, for the most part, the workforce.
Right.
And everybody grows up differently. What was the generation above the baby boomers? The silent generation.
I think it was also known as the greatest generation.
Uh, the greatest generation was before the silent generation. I think it
It
went,
was?
yeah, the greatest generation, the silent generation, then baby boomers.
Okay.
So every generation grows up differently and has a different set of circumstances. And, quite literally, the internet and high-speed internet, specifically smartphones, really was kind of a generational divide, essentially. But we all have our different perspectives, essentially.
Hmm. We certainly do. And we also have our own opinions on how things are. The only thing I will say that seems to be consistent is the older your generation gets, the more you think that your generation was the best that ever walked the face of the earth, and that
Exactly.
today, and the younger generation has it easier than you ever did. But I will say,
Yes.
Brian and I did not walk to school both ways uphill, and things like that. We rode a yellow bus,
Yes, we did
just like
ride the
everybody
bus.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, not many people ride the bus anymore, but either way, so let's get started here with the
Okay.
generation that built the world that AI is now disrupting, the baby boomers. This is the least technical because they didn't grow up with technology as we know it.
Hmm.
They grew up, radio was the big thing, TV was like whoa, what is this? TV is unbelievable and everything, and that's what basically they grew up with. And now they went through the internet and everything, and now this AI tools, it's just not uh something that they're used to, and this is the most foreign to them, I would say.
I would say so. I mean, common sense suggests that when you're a generation that didn't need technology in order to be, successful to provide for your family, you really didn't need it as much as the other generations have in their day-to-day work. I mean, if you were a baby boomer teacher, perhaps by the end of your career, you were utilizing some of them that are retired right now were probably utilizing email for the first time in their last 5 years. Now
Yeah.
so much has changed. There's computers in front of every single student, it seems, and
Hmm.
things like that. So they were the least, the generation that we're talking about, they were the ones that had the least interaction with technology, both growing up and going through their careers and into the retirement age.
Hmm.
So um, do we know? It did say when we did the research that the boomers do have some general comfort level with technology and AI tools.
A
So
little bit.
while we're saying this, they're not foreign to it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, our like the older generations, some of them that are like we said, the silent generation or the greatest generation. It's probably still a foreign concept to them just because it's a whole new world to them.
Hmm.
But there is still a general comfort level. Some of the common cases that came up when the research use it for health info, communication, and fraud and scam awareness. A lot of that's baked in to a lot of things right now, like especially
Yeah.
health info, like you use whether or not you know it, you're using some form of AI with your health information right now, and that's kind of a generalist type thing. Fraud and scam awareness, that I'm not sure if that's like kind of like what's baked into email protections at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
Um,
think some of the fraud and scams that it was referring to in this case was the chat bots that can actually do the phone calls, like trying
mhm.
to scam. So they're trying to make boomers aware that you don't owe the IRS money necessarily. Like you don't have to believe
Yeah.
it when they call you and say you have to pay, or so and so your relative has you listed down. Here's their emergency loan. We're going to take their house if you don't pay us. Like you don't have to, don't fall for those things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what they uh kind of look at right here, they have concerns with privacy, because this is a whole new thing to them.
Hmm.
Privacy, the internet, they grew up without the internet essentially,
Hmm.
as a lot of us did, but they were really big on, not having the internet, not touching the internet. I know a lot of people in my parents' generation, they just almost recently just adopted online banking, and which is like a concept that any of the
Yeah.
millennial and Gen Z generations like, oh yeah, online banking, that's all I do with banking now is just go online. So that's kind of where they are sort of coming with concerns right there, and just because it's new to them, I think. I don't think uh I mean there might be just some general distrust in technology essentially, and now that AI is here, they might think it's like even worse now, which in some
Yeah.
cases it is, I would
It
say.
could. I think that comes because of job displacement. I think the trust also plays into that. This is a generation that has seen, jobs moved overseas in their prime.
Hmm.
Like when the steel mill shut down in Youngstown, places like Youngstown, Bethlehem,
Hmm.
parts of the Midwest and the Rust Belt. So I think they could be seeing AI as a job displacer, and therefore have a little bit of trust issues with it, which is understandable because, like we said,
Hmm.
with generations, it's via their perspective, it's via their behaviors, how they were raised, and what they went through as a generation. Um, but I do believe they are aware that their kids and grandkids are going to need to utilize these tools and use them necessarily. That that
Yeah,
that part was clearly documented when we went through the research.
yeah, definitely. And just to kind of bring up some data points as we wrap up the boomers,
Mhm.
only 10% of adults 65 and plus have used ChatGPT, which kind
Right.
of not unexpected, to be honest with you, because they really, I don't think they really care about it, to be honest.
I I really that was shockingly low. I
Yeah.
really thought it would have been about 1 in 5, and now you're saying 1 in 10 of adults 65 and over have used
Hmm.
ChatGPT, and that's according to Pew Research.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely.
as of 2025. So that's pretty accurate. That's a pretty trusted source, and that's a pretty recent stat.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the younger boomers says here, what is this? Tenuity? Is that how you pronounce it?
I believe so.
Tenuity? Yeah, it's says that 39% of baby boomers use AI platforms like ChatGPT weekly. And this is sort of, there's a 65 plus, and then there's kind of the some of the younger
Yeah,
boomers probably use it a little bit more, but that number almost kind of seems a little bit high to me, to be honest with you.
yeah.
That's kind of I think they might be just using it for fun or personal use because I'm sure a lot of them are retired at this point, and they just hey, why don't I just give this a try? Really, I don't think they really have any working adaptation to it, but are just kind of being entertained by it, so to say.
Well, and then there's nothing wrong with that, you know.
No.
But I think you're right about that. I don't think it's being used for general workforce purposes,
Hmm.
but maybe it is. Now, this next stat was pretty interesting. Despite low chatbot adaptation or adoption, adoption, boomers do use embedded AI features. So that's not uncommon to hear
Hmm.
about the stuff that's
Yeah.
already on your phones or on your devices. So 48% use a predictive text with an autocorrection. I'm shocked it's that low. I
Yeah,
thought it'd be higher than
because
that.
I mean, my text messages are constantly correcting me as well. And
Mhm.
I don't even tell it to use it actually. So I'm kind of surprised that that feature isn't higher. Um, 38% use AI to answer questions. Once again, I think that's more of a novelty to them.
Right.
They're just trying to ask some specific things. 36% use virtual assistants.
That I'm curious
Um,
about.
yeah,
What are you using? I,
I'm kind of wondering like what they're using it for. And this is all coming from the AARP.
which is a trusted
Yeah,
source in research for
yes,
boomers, you know?
yes, because they are the retired persons,
That is
um,
right.
essentially, and 32% use voice to text. Not a surprise because
No.
as we know, you get older, your arthritis kicks in a little bit more, and
Yep.
you don't really feel like kind of the texting on the screen, it gets a little difficult, and you just hit the voice, and you can use the voice to text, which, yeah, that's a pretty simple adaptation, in my opinion.
And it's a good use of it. It's a very good
Definitely.
use of a tool that is AI. It's not AI like we think of ChatGPT, but it is an AI feature and it's useful. And I'm a little surprised it's only 32%.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I thought that number would have been a little higher than that, to be perfectly
Yeah,
honest.
perhaps, but I wonder how many actually use text messages. Um,
My parents do not. I mean,
they do not. Okay.
on rare occasion I get a text from my mother.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents have adapted it. It takes them a little bit longer to reply. Sorry, mom, dad, if you're listening to this. I
Oh,
just
they
called you
are.
out a little bit, but
They
that's
are. They're
okay.
listening. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably have. But anyway, that's pretty much the not a lot unexpected from baby boomers, that generation. That just kind of goes with the ageisms right there. But
Hmm.
the next generation in the workforce, and this is the one right before us, is Generation X, also known as the forgotten middle generation. I think that's
Right.
kind of on purpose to them, because the
I
entire
think they wear
generation.
that as a badge of honor.
Yeah, the entire generation just was like prided themselves on discontent growing up. And that kind of doesn't really surprise me right there. And they are using it for some workplace productivity.
Hmm.
according to like the research here. Managing households, not really sure what that's supposed to mean. Once again, this
I
outline is kind of put together for us.
Yeah, but I do believe in figuring that out. I think when it says the managing of the households, it's using AI to communicate across the family lines, as well as
Yeah.
use things like if some people have this now, they have a calendar in the kitchen that has like
Hmm.
everybody's activities listed on it, and it's electronic. Even though that's not necessarily AI-ish, I would say
Hmm.
it could be AI-ish. There's an AI component, but there are some management of things and like that in there. And then go ahead with
Yeah.
the next one.
Yeah. Career pivoting. They
Yeah,
are at an odd point in their career. They're not quite retirement age, but they're not quite out of like spring chickens in the workforce. They're
right,
very well developed within the workforce, and a lot of this generation, this age, is trying to ride it out. At least the first half of the generation. The second half is still working. And I think the career pivoting really comes in that second half of the generation where they, now realize everything they've done growing up is pretty much gone.
right.
And us as the older millennial generation, I'm seeing it myself too.
Yes.
All the skills that I built up over my career, I said I worked in the automation industry. For example, I started working wiring relay logic, essentially. And if you don't know what that is these little relays that get turned on and off through a set of buttons and everything. Everything was wired in very intricate ways. And I kind of came in at towards the tail end of that, but now everything is PC based and it is a whole new world from when I started wiring to now
Yeah.
trying to do engineering. So, but
That's
that
one of
career
the
pivot,
ways we can describe
yeah,
the Gen X is they were the
yeah,
generation that went from analog to digital.
yes, and it does
Uh,
say that right here. They
yeah.
grew up analog. They were really the peak television. Cable started coming in, essentially peak radio. They didn't have CDs for the longest time. They had a lot of records and cassettes, essentially. They used to make the mixtapes
Hmm.
off the radio and everything. I think we did that when we
We
were a little bit
definitely did
younger.
that.
Yeah,
I had to.
we were at
My parents weren't going to take me to Camelot Music, a great store that I
yeah,
wish never closed.
yeah.
They never were going to take me there unless they happened to be going to the mall and I was there with them. Then I can go. Yeah.
Well,
So,
speaking of the mall, that's the mall generation right there is Gen X.
oh yeah, great
Like
mall rats.
the mall was yeah the big thing. Yeah, Mall Rats, definitely a Gen X movie, essentially. So yeah, this is like kind of they're kind of in an awkward spot to be honest with you. I do kind of feel it a little bit.
Yeah, when it comes to interacting with AI, their data, it's all over the place. Uh,
Hmm.
so here we go. Let's start listening to
Yeah.
some of these bullet
Yeah,
points right here.
let's rattle off these data points and kind of give our analysis towards the end because there's a lot of data points right here. Adam, what do we got first?
First off, 25% of adults ages 50 to 64 have used ChatGPT. So
Hmm.
um,
Still lower.
it's still lower than what I thought it was going to be. Again, that's Pew Research from 2025. Pretty strong source, in my
Hmm.
opinion. The next one, only 18% of adults 50 plus have used ChatGPT at work. It is by far the lowest rate among working age adults, according to Pew. I'd like to
Yeah,
think that they're all using Claude because they're smart, but I don't think that's the case when I know some of the ChatGPT stats in terms of what's the most commonly
yeah,
used AI. So,
exactly.
um,
Yeah,
it-
so yeah, the next one, 55% of Gen X use AI platforms re weekly, trailing younger generations, etc. The first two were Pew, the other one is Tenuity. We did check that. That is a good one right there.
yeah,
But either way, that I think that's where we start to see the shift right there. Over half are using them weekly, so they're trying to play catch up. That's what that says to me.
hmm.
And only 36% have used standalone generative AI tools, but
But
shows a stronger adoption of embedded AI with everyday apps. So embedded ones to me are like the Microsoft Copilot type
yeah,
apps. Because now you can have your Microsoft Word, Excel, etc., but you have the AI working behind the scenes, and then you say, okay, I wrote this document, bring up
yeah.
Copilot, and it does a couple things
And,
too.
and Brian, that makes total sense that this generation would benefit and do strong adoption
Hmm.
of something like Copilot because this was the second half of this generation was exposed to Microsoft Word, PowerPoint
Hmm.
at their younger ages of high school, college, and even early in their career. So they have an understanding of those tools. So it does not shock me at all that they have strong adoption with a good thing like Copilot. That doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, the adults aged 18 to 59. Th this point, I'm really gonna kind of almost ignore right here because that is like a lot
We
of
should just skip that one. I
generation.
I
Yeah,
probably should have taken that one out.
yeah. Yeah. This is once again, this is the
But
outline we're using.
when we talk about Gen X, we got to talk about skepticism. So go ahead to
Yep.
the next one.
Yep, privacy, top reason adults in this range avoid AI, 77% citing it as a barrier to use. And this is
Yeah.
from the NORC. That makes sense just because that's who they are. They are anti-establishment as it comes. Like their big movies were like the indie kick in the 90s, which kind of was like I kind of explained it to us, but that has no surprise there. And here's another thing. 43% believe teens should never use AI to write a paper. 36% say never for homework. And this is a tension right here because as you may or may not know, Gen X are the parents of Gen Z. And we're going to get to
Yeah,
Gen
the
Z
Gen Z
later.
teens, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of creating a lot of tension right there. So
Especially when you hear the data for Gen Z.
yeah, definitely. This is going to be interesting, but a lot of this is not surprising. Um, like we said, like some of the older ones are kind of want nothing to do with it and are just ready to be done with it. Some of the first half of Gen X is kind of not ready for retirement, so they're trying to play catch up essentially. And the
Hmm.
skepticism definitely plays a part into that as well. But now we are going to go to the generation which we probably have the most insight on, the millennials.
Right.
Millennials, and these are the digital natives who grew up alongside the internet. Now, I'll tell you right now, when I was growing up, I did not have internet for the longest time. We did not have high-speed internet until we were in college,
That is
essentially. I think
correct. I did
that's
not
fair.
I did not have high speed internet until I moved home the 3 months after the 3 month period between graduating college
Hmm.
and getting my first job. I got back to my house and I told my parents, "You've got to get rid of dial-up internet. I'm trying to apply for jobs. I am going to fall
Yeah.
behind if I don't get dial-up internet." I kept going to the Wycliffe Public Library
Hmm.
to check and see if there was job openings. And so that was how they upgraded. There was this thing
Yeah.
called dial-up. And for those of you who don't know what that is, wow, was that an experience. You could actually try to get on the internet and it would kick you off if it was too busy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like a foreign concept now. Like we didn't have the internet growing up. There was such thing as internet cafes, if you wanted high speed internet because it just wasn't available.
Right.
And now we kind of grew up with it and we saw the beginning and now the beginning from dial-up to smartphones. We basically grew up looking at this evolution right here,
Yeah.
and it's been fascinating. Some of it's better, some of it's worse. I think we can do a whole episode on what we like and don't like about what happened with the technology. But
We probably could because we were
mhm,
like to reiterate what you said, we were a generation told you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket, therefore you need to learn this math this way. And we bought
mhm,
into it. I mean, I did. And now here I am with more technology in my pocket that was on the then was on the rockets in the 60s going up to the moon.
yeah,
It blows my mind how quickly that happened too, where we got calculators in our pockets was pretty quick.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and
it
that's more
happened very
powerful
fast
than
for our generation.
Yeah, more powerful than the computers that went to the moon. That's insane. Like the more we say it,
Yeah.
but no, it's just carrying around in our pocket now. So use cases, we kind of coined the term side hustle, I'd say. Content creation, parenting tools. I don't really use it to parent, to be honest with you.
No.
Financial planning. I do get some financial ideas from it a little bit here and there.
Hmm. I asked it a lot of questions during tax season. I can tell you that. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
I don't want to buy this from this tax person. So,
yeah,
how can I
exactly.
get around this?
Yeah, I mean, I use it for some kind of questions that came up in some of my taxes, but yeah, I mean, this is we're the ones really trying to put this into use right now and say, okay, we knew what life was like before all this technology came along, and now we saw this all the full evolution into this point. So we kind of, I'd say we have like a very unique perspective, not to, puff ourselves up a little bit, but this is kind of, where we're at in life. So it's kind of an
Right.
interesting one. Concerns authenticity. AI in the workplace replacing their hard-earned skills. And I think this is
That
that
hit the
second one,
nail.
it really hits home right there
Yeah.
because we kind of develop these skills and everything. And now all of a sudden, I went over my personal experience with the automation industry, and now like those skills are borderline useless at the moment
Yeah.
for a lot of these things. And now we're really seeing it. So we're uh kind of deer in the headlights, a lot of us, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
like we went through the Great Recession and everything, and that was when a lot of us were just starting to enter the workforce. I know that's when I was like first like really getting like what they call real job, real work and everything, and it took a while to catch up, and now that I feel like we're caught up now. AI
Now
is
there's
like
another
suddenly
threat
displacing us again. Yeah.
to displace us. Yeah. I mean, when you think about the stuff our generations have been through, but like for us to do it as young as we did, it is a lot. And I
Hmm.
think we are always worried about losing our jobs because we started our careers like that. And then
Hmm.
just even as most recent as, 6 years ago, we had COVID,
Yeah.
and we were in the prime, starting the prime of our careers. And boom, we had to transition and start working virtually all of a sudden.
Yeah, and
Um,
then now that's sort of becoming a mainstay now that people like it and everything. And it's
yeah.
sort of I would say COVID sort of forced technology adaptation a little bit more and sort of accelerated it.
I think it did a good job for getting stubborn people to think outside the box to keep things going. And a
Hmm.
lot of that was because of technology integration. That was the
Yeah,
one benefit that I saw from COVID.
yeah, exactly. But it says we're most likely to experiment, also most burned by overhype. I would say so.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Because th this is still a novelty to us. But we're definitely into it. We definitely want to know what we can do with it. I mean, we're doing a podcast on it. We created this episode with it,
Yeah.
so we like it, but it has become kind of the buzzword, and everything. So it's kind of how should I say? It's kind of getting old after a while. It's like it uses AI, and eventually everybody's gonna, like every piece of technology, is gonna have some sort of AI
Oh,
integration
it's
into it.
already in your face. And some of
Yeah,
them are claiming they have AI integration and they really don't. It's the same thing, just repackaged and it says AI on it. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Essentially, like what is AI? You can classify so many things as AI. So I kind of get the idea it's overhyped and everything, which
yeah,
is I think part of why we started this podcast now.
it
Because we
was.
just we,
It
like
was.
we
No
just
hype.
wanted to, yeah, we just wanted to like actually talk about what this is, and I think that's what kind of gives us a unique perspective on everything. So stats, this is some of these are kind of interesting here. 41% of adults ages 30 to 49 have used ChatGPT, according to Pew Research.
I would have been wrong on that. I'd have said it was
Yeah,
higher.
yeah, I would have said it was higher too, but we still have some that want nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
30% of employed millennials have used ChatGPT on the job. Not too much of a surprise there, to be honest with you,
I
because
thought that was going to be higher as well.
you thought so. I'm kind of on the fence. Those are both from Pew Research. But using it on the job, I think sometimes we forget it's there,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. And like sometimes I'm on the phone with a customer and I forget that, it's there. And I actually use Copilot, but that's for other reasons, everything. But this one's not a surprise. 67% use AI platforms at least weekly, tied for Gen Z with the highest rate. Not a
Oh
surprise
yeah.
there. I may have thought it would have been higher, but um, it's still relatively new. 58% have used standalone generative AI tools, um, which not unexpected right there. Generative
No,
AI is still kind of a
we
novelty.
we were always kind of hip to technology, especially new technology. I mean,
Yeah.
we did have AOL Messenger and started doing away messages. We were the generation of MySpace, Facebook. We were quick to adapt if we thought others were doing it, or
Hmm.
anything. If you felt like if you didn't have something because of FOMO, fear of missing out, we were quick to engage in it technology wise. So I'm not terribly surprised that we have that high number for standalone generative AI tools. That doesn't shock me.
Yeah. Yeah. Strong use for productivity, work tasks, hobbies, and practical personal support. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I would not disagree with that. It's we're still using it as a novelty, using it as a tool, but we're still sort of adept outside of this technology to not over rely on it. So that doesn't stats really don't surprise me. I thought there would have
Yeah.
been a little bit more usage in some things, but I'm not really surprised by that.
Now, let's move on to Z because
The Z,
the
yes.
Z, the Gen Z.
Yeah, we could have given them a much better one. But anyway, Generation Z grew up with smartphones. Th This is something that I forget sometimes, is they literally started with a smartphone. We
Yeah.
started with a pager. Um,
Who? Yeah. Did you have one?
I had one. It
For
was,
what reason?
I have no idea because we thought it was cool. And then we had all
Yeah,
those like
that's it.
different
Yeah.
colors and everything, and some people
So
had like two or three.
I remember asking my dad for one, and he looked at me like I was an idiot and accused me of being a drug dealer. Like he was like, "What do you need a
Yeah,
pager for?" And I was like, "Okay, sorry." And he's
yeah,
right. Well, I
definitely.
didn't need a pager. Nobody was calling me in the middle school. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they actually started with the smartphones.
yeah.
We forget about that sometimes because we went from no phone to pager to dumb phone to smartphone, and
And now we're going back to dumb phone.
yeah, I'm ready to go back to a dumb phone. I'm sick of being tethered to this thing.
Yeah.
Even though we're kind of using it to communicate with each other, but either way, but they grew up with this. Let's go back to Gen Z and stop talking about ourselves. But I mean, they grew up with this, so this
Yeah.
is very easy to them. And using a smartphone for like banking and credit card transactions, I forget sometimes. You can just tap your phone and boom, you're making your payment. I'm like, oh. I forget I can do that sometimes. I'm still pulling out my credit card.
That's amazing.
And sometimes they do. They use it, creative tools, schoolwork, social media, career prep. Not a surprise, especially with the younger half of Gen Z,
Hmm.
who's still trying to get into the workforce essentially,
That younger half,
with career
I live
prep.
with two. I have both of my sons fit the end of this.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So,
The one fits it. I'm sorry, the other one doesn't. The one fits it. The other one
yeah,
doesn't.
okay.
They are using AI in school. It's very monitored. They're doing a good
Hmm.
job with it at his
Okay.
level. But it's not foreign to him. I can tell you that AI. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And, social media, yeah, I get it. I'm wondering, like, how many of them are creating fake profiles to mess with people, because that does a lot. Creative tools. It does make sense because I have talked to some other parents of some of my kids' friends who are mentoring a lot of these young guys coming into the workforce and basically using ChatGPT just to generate emails for them, which I do not
Yeah.
recommend. You can have it check your grammar. You can
Have it revise it. Don't have it do
yeah.
it for you. Have
Yeah,
it take a look at what you created and then ask for advice.
yes, do it
Uh,
first, but they're
yes.
basically using it there, and now we have to tell them, you like, this isn't a good idea. This doesn't sound personal to you because writing emails to customers, and when you're writing an email to a customer and you just do some AI generated slop, it sounds just kind of like junk or what have you.
Hmm.
But they're actually really starting to use it for uh work and everything. Their concerns, I think it's everybody's concerns really, misinformation, deep fakes, and mental health impact.
Yeah.
Which
It's real. The mental health part in
yeah,
particular is very real.
yeah, the first two, misinformation and deep fakes, I think everybody at this point has that concern. But
Yes.
the mental health impact, I actually read something that a lot of this generation is trying to experience the world that they never grew up in. And they're going back to the vinyls and they're like actually pointed out the
Yes.
90s as the last decade without uh, technology. And
Without. a lot of craziness, I guess.
Yeah, and being tethered to technology because we forget sometimes that they grew up with basically linked to the technology. And forget about my kids are doing this sometimes too. I have to, try to find ways to get around it. But yeah, that mental health impact is a serious concern right there.
Hmm. It is. It's a serious thing. We've done episodes on it. So
Yeah,
if
definitely.
you're listening, go back and check them out.
Yeah, we got a two-parter there, but and they
Let's
will
go to
define
the,
how AI matures, which I think
yeah,
that's basically goes without
common
saying. But
sense.
Adam, what are some of the stats right here? I'm
Let's
tired of
do the
talking.
data. 58% of adults under 30 have used ChatGPT. It's the highest of any age group according to Pew. Not
S-
surprising.
Still kind of shocked that number's that low, to be honest with you.
That part was a little surprising, but not surprising that they were the highest group.
Oh, definitely.
38% of employed Gen Z adults have used ChatGPT on the job.
Yes, a little bit
I,
higher than millennials.
I think
Um,
the number's actually higher than that. I think people get scared when they do these surveys sometimes and don't answer correctly.
well, another thing I think with the employee Gen Z adults is using it on the job. They are being more drawn towards the trades now, carpentry, electrical
Yes.
work, welding, and all
Yes.
that. You,
And
you can't use AI to weld. Let's
that's a
just say.
very good point. And keep in mind the section of Gen Z that is actually in the workforce right now,
Hmm.
it's not even half of this group from 97 to 2012. Because
Yeah,
think about that. My son's in this age group and he's not in the workforce yet.
yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, keep in mind we're still talking about a small portion of the pie of the work population. So
Yeah,
perhaps if you were to redo this survey in 3 years, it'd be significantly higher, these numbers.
yeah, I think if we split these generations in half a little bit, the numbers would kind of tell a different story, but that
Hmm.
doesn't surprise me. And 67% use AI platforms weekly. Same with millennials,
Yep.
us. Not really a surprise right there. We're all using it
Right.
weekly. And here's the big one. 76% have used standalone generative AI tools.
Right.
Not a surprise because these are now the hip cool thing, and younger
Yep.
kids like the hip cool thing.
Well, here's the one that did not surprise me at all.
Hmm.
84% of high school students use generative AI for schoolwork, and 69% specifically use ChatGPT for assignments. Yes.
Yes, this is coming from the College Board, and
Yeah, College
mm,
Board in 2025. Yep.
yeah, not a surprise. And I think that number right there is a big wake-up call because we need to really uh change how we teach. I know
Uh,
you as an educator
yep.
knows
Uh,
that for a fact, but
I don't want to go on a
this is big.
diatribe, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
Yes.
But there's a lot that needs to change.
Yeah,
Because as you
definitely.
and I were told, there's not going to be a calculator in your pockets.
Now we have a
And
computer in our pocket.
yeah, we have a computer. Well, these kids are going to have AI.
Yeah,
We
and
cannot continue to do school the same way we've been doing it since the 20s. That's all I'm saying
yeah,
for right now.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's all education and AI is a whole nother episode right there. But
Oh,
yeah, I think yeah, either way, I think we can kind of wrap this up a little bit. Um Essentially not a lot of surprises there with the numbers and the adaptation, just because, AI is a hip, cool thing.
right.
And the older you get, the less you care about the hip, cool thing. I think I'm kind of ahead of the curve on stop caring about the hip, cool thing. I think you are too as well. But anything stand out to you that was really surprised? Nothing, not too much for me.
Not a ton. I thought Gen X would have used it a little more than what they said they did. And
Hmm.
Gen X doesn't strike me as a generation that would be afraid to answer a question during a survey for fear that somebody might see their answers or something like that. They strike me
Yeah.
as a tell it like it is generation. That's how I've always known Gen X.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
basically.
and I still thought those numbers would have been a little higher. And I think that's a wake up call for our listeners that if you think you're behind in using AI, clearly
Hmm.
you're not.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
You're clearly not. I mean, not even all the teenagers are using it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. But yeah, I think it like really breaks it down the age groups as to, how does it affect each age group? Baby boomers doesn't really do nothing for them. I don't think it really is affecting their, retirement or finances or their future or anything like that, just
Hmm.
because most of them are retired by now. Gen X, the ones that are about to retire are like don't really care too much, but the ones who are still far enough out to retire but still need to work, they're the ones that are really affected by it right now. Because they still need to make up money for retirement.
Yeah.
Our generation, I think is the biggest fear of displacement because we're
Yeah.
like smack dab in the middle of everything. And as far as Gen Z is concerned, they're basically using it as they grow. So
Yes.
I don't really think they have too much concerns or anything like that. But
Agreed.
yeah, either way, I would say that about wraps it up for the evening. I think we did a good job going through it all. I'd like to give everybody a big thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen to us. My name is Brian,
And I'm Adam.
and you have been listening to the Layman's AI, and we will see you next time.